everybody. The Women's World Cup draw gets underway this morning. 6 cities, 6 groups, and a world of pressure on Canada as the host country. Vancouver United FC, home to over 3,600 players. Gregor is their technical director. Keith Ryan is the club manager. Gentlemen, thank you for coming in. How big of a day is this for Canada before we get going 6 months from now?
This is a huge day for Canada. It's a massive event. It's become even bigger now that it's expanded to 24 teams from 16. It's a chance for a lot of fans and local players to see the best women's players in the world.
You guys are home to over 3,600 players here in the Lower Mainland. The energy within the club, and how do you plan on moving forward 6 months from now once the World Cup gets going?
Well, we've got a very visionary board of directors, and we've now hired an outreach coordinator to really focus on how we take advantage of the World Cup. Athletes are so often inspired by great heroes, and we've got some wonderful heroes on that team. So for us, it's about capturing that energy and that excitement about the team. And so we're going to be hosting events like a coaches conference on the opening weekend of the Women's World Cup, which is going to bring coaches from around the world and across Canada and North America here to the 40th Centre. We've got a great sponsor involved. And really what that allows us to do is build coaches for those players that are so inspired to participate. So it's a really exciting event. We've partnered with 5 or 6 other clubs in the Lower Mainland, Twassen Soccer Club locally here, Cliff Avenue. We've got West Van Soccer Club, West Coast Football Club. And they're all getting involved with us to say, yeah, we want to get behind coach development. So it's a really exciting event. We're really pleased about that. And then Gregor's programs on the field have really taken our club to another level. And so we want to capture that excitement.
We'll talk to Gregor about it in a second, because I know you wore our country's uniform in '92. I'm glad you mentioned the fact that something like this will energize the youth. And when I look at young girls, my nieces played soccer as young girls and teenagers. It does happen. And these are role models for our athletes of tomorrow, today.
Well, Jay, Global was at a press conference about 10 years ago where a young girl called Brittany Timko was putting on a Nebraska jersey for the first time, and she was off to university. Well, next year she's stepping out into the field to represent Canada in the World Cup with 24 teams, which is the first time in an event which is going to be represented in 5 different time zones. And for that young girl, for us to see her come through that, from those days to today, and all the work that her parents did before that, it's a great story, and those stories are being written today.
Okay, we talk about the pressure, Gregor, of playing at home. It's always there, especially when you put on the Canadian uniform. You did it back in 1992. Hard to believe that's like 22 years ago, 23 years ago. To put on that uniform and then to deal with the pressure here, what are you expecting from our women under John Herdman?
Well, I think the women under John Herman have been together for so long in our very experienced group. I don't think it's going to bother them too much. I think they'll rise to the challenge as they did at the Olympics 2 years ago, and I think you'll see some great performances from them. Yeah,
we saw what they did at the Olympics. If there'd be one concern for you playing at home, what would it be?
There's definitely expectations. There's definitely wanting to make sure that you get your best performance out on the day and don't get distracted by the fact that you have a lot more people around you in terms of family and friends that would like to see you and talk to you through the day.
How much does it help the fact, as you mentioned, they've spent a few seasons now under John Herdman? We've seen some very positive results with him. Do you see a young team finally maturing, and are we putting together an effort where we can be dangerous on the attack as opposed to just waiting for chances?
I think those are probably the concerns that you've just raised, or if I can call them concerns, is that we are a bit reliant on younger players at the back, which is a critical position where you want some experience, and you've got some players nearing the end of their careers playing up front. We need to find that balance between youth and experience on the field.
All right, you're going to be a busy man 6 months from now. Do you really expect the World Cup to energize this nation as well as energizing a youth base?
I think people have not seen a small percentage of how much it's going to energise the country. The draw's today, 9 o'clock, so there's lots of excitement around it. And then the next big day is going to be when they blow that whistle for the first time at the opening game. But between now and then, you're going to see young boys and girls get so excited about this event. And the girls' participation, I would anticipate, is going to increase 5 to 10% next year's registrations. We as clubs have to be ready for that participation and be opening to making sure those girls have a great place to play.
Quickly, how are things at Vancouver United FC?
It's great. Actually, we had the women's team training in our neighborhood the past few weeks. It was really exciting for a lot of our young players to go out. They were phoning and emailing Keith and I to find out what time they were training so they could go out in their own neighborhood and see them. So it's an exciting time.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it. The Women's World Cup draw goes later this morning. Vancouver, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Ottawa, Montreal, Moncton are your host cities. We're back with more news, weather, and sports after a couple commercial breaks.